Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt man! All right! Episode 165 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Brian from Douchebag Dudes in California. Let's go!
Hey, Sugar Lips.
Yo, yo, yo.
What's up?
Hey.
You got a fresh hat?
No, it's the same.
Ooh, positive vibes.
You've seen that one before.
I need that.
Well, that's why I wore it. I just sensed that
Nice.
you could use a few of those type of vibes.
Cool.
Yeah. You look cute.
Thanks.
What's up with the shirt? I can't read it.
It's my dinosaur shirt. It says Blast from the Past on it. It's got some dinosaurs.
Okay. You didn't have to touch yourself there.
I was showing you the print.
Oh, okay. So it is the week before
Summer camp.
summer camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what that means?
Crunch time.
Yeah, we got to button it all up.
We should probably start planning this thing.
Yeah, I figured we could probably all do it just like next week. I don't know.
Like the day of. When I get there Thursday morning.
Yeah, can you just come to town and do it? Because it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lot locked in.
Mm-hmm.
And I am now, I said this yesterday when we were chatting, that I am now officially, I guess, an event coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
A damn good one, too.
Yeah. If I make it to camp alive, it'll be awesome. So like what may happen is I may die but everything will be at least set, and then you can fly to town and then just have fun at the camp and do your stuff, and entertain.
By the sounds of it, we can just do what Bruce and Steven did. We can just have Marcotte out and just pretend to be us. And
let's see if he's available.
Just do the whole camp. He'd probably knock it out. He'd do good.
He would do great. Like he's always there to help, and he has like such that DJ voice, it's soothing.
Him and Nick Wood together would be better than us.
No doubt.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing Nick's going to be here. That's, first of all, let's just put that out there. Nick Wood will be here.
Mm-hmm.
Marcotte hasn't committed.
He doesn't care about us.
Yeah. I don't know. I wish maybe we can talk him into it still.
Mm-hmm.
We have a
was on
time.
the phone with Tyler earlier, TC, and he was like, "See you next week." And I was like, "Oh, fuck yeah." I felt it in my bones.
Yeah. On Sunday, it would be dope if we could all get a group together and go see Joanne's exhibit. For those who are still in town, hey, we're going to go down there and check it out because it's fully installed. I can't remember if we talked about this on the last episode. I have no idea, but it's fully installed. Looks fantastic. I'm so proud of her. And she has, like we said this last week too, she has a podcast coming out. I thought it'd be out already. They must be doing some extra special editing, and I can't wait to hear it because I have no idea what she talked about, but I'm sure it was all really good stuff. Steven texted me, was like, yes, this is he loved it.
She just talked shit about you the whole time. That's why they're nervous to put it out.
I think that's probably partially in there. Yeah. But that's okay. I deserve it. I get it. I deserve some of that, but I'm really excited and proud of her for being on the podcast. That's pretty neat.
Dude, me too. I love Joanne. You got a good one. You got lucky, bro.
Yeah. When the right one comes along, you got to bribe them somehow to, stick around.
Joanne always knows what to send me to put me in my place and get me in the right spot.
You mean a meme or a
memes
flowers?
Or just my horoscope stuff or whatever. Just she finds something and she's like, I know Dylan, it's either aliens or something super fucking weird. And it just gets
Sasquatch.
It gets me in the right headspace. And she's just always there.
She does that for me all the time too. I just got a text a minute ago and it popped up. I couldn't tell what it said, but it said, I'm sure it says something like, hey, I love you. Hope your back's feeling okay. And, good luck with the show and all that stuff.
How's
Hey.
things there? Things are here are weirdly busy.
Well, cheers to that, brother.
I
Like,
know.
I don't have anything, but pretend we just did. Cheers.
A little clinky clink.
Yeah, we've got plenty of boxes, plenty of stuff to print. It is August, so that's normally busier than July. I looked at our numbers for July. We were down 3%, which small. I'll
I'm
take
still
it.
down. Like we're still good and profitable, but like we're down from, being crazy busy, but it's good to just be normal sometimes.
But vibes are up.
Yeah.
Business down, vibes are up. We can do
PVs, positive vibes, bro.
that. You know what Kyle made me?
A beer?
The Kyle called, well, yeah, there's 100 bottles of beer.
Is
Wiener
it
ale.
his pickles or his
You got it.
pickles?
Yeah, you got it.
Well, me and Kyle are bros. I don't know if you know this, but like we follow each other. We comment on each other's stuff. We help each other with lawn stuff.
I don't know if I'm okay with that. I don't know.
So, I see all the garage dog stuff, bro. Like I know what he's doing. He just made that sick grilling station.
Yeah. Did you see that?
I did.
And
yeah.
the grill, his old grill is here right now at Shirkong waiting for you. Waiting for your master skill set. So check this out.
Nice.
That's pickles, but not just any old pickles. I don't know if
Are
you can tell in
they
there. but
zucchini pickles?
No, it's cucumber, but I'm trying to find, there's peppers in here, like jalapenos or some shit.
Jalapenos.
There's one, maybe.
Nice.
Right there. And you know what that means? A little spicy.
Spicy for a spicy guy.
So if you if you follow Kyle, you maybe saw in his story that he had a drill that was really dirty.
I saw
And
that.
he
Yeah.
cleaned it
At
up.
the wall. Yeah.
Do you know whose drill that was?
Was that yours?
My original drill as a young man it's corded, and here it is.
Did you ask him to clean it up?
He's like, so it was here at the shop, and I've had this for like 30 years or so. This is my original drill. Is like, hey, I'm a man. I got a drill. And this, it was like, had everything on it, like dirt and ink and oil and you name it anyway. And it looks brand new. And the cord, it was so old that the cord, was like coming loose right here. And he has a brand new, look, it's shiny. See how shiny that is?
Kyle's a fucking Renaissance man.
And he just brought this back, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Did you buy me a brand new drill? No, this is your OG.
I'm going to make him a firm offer to move to New York when I'm there.
No, you're not. He's really happy here. And not just at Shirkong, but also happy living here in Missouri. He doesn't want to go up there in that shithole of.
He doesn't want to ride bikes with me all the time. We could grill together. We could fucking
cut grass,
work on projects, and cut grass, fucking stripe together. We'll high five as our zero turns pass each other.
You don't have a zero turn.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know. So right there, that's a no. That's a no for sure. Hey, so you know what came today? No, sorry, yesterday.
You? Wow, that was easy.
Close. You almost got it. No, the quick clean. How do you think you spell that, Dylan? How would you spell quick clean?
Well, no M&R, it starts with a K.
Something in there does start with a K, but not what you think.
Quick. CLEAN.
I said something started with the K. So
the K is in clean.
Yes. Okay. So here's how they spelled it. Ready? QUIK.
Yeah.
Quick. And then clean. KLEAN. So that's how you spell it. But it's a quick clean, and it's here. It is still in its crate, because you know how that goes. It takes like a week to get out of the crate. What else is going on up there?
I don't know. I had a nice long talk with you yesterday. I had a nice long talk with Tony yesterday. I feel like I was on the phone all day yesterday with different people. I've been doing a lot of yard work lately. mowed the new property again yesterday, and then I was weed eating a lot, and I got to go back up and do it again tonight. But yeah, I'm good. Everything's good, man. It's trying to put in the positive vibes.
I think it's stretch time.
I got my results back from the X-rays on my hip and back.
Yeah, and you do have a penis somewhere?
Yeah, it's inside. It's like Red Rocket, like a dog. Frank. It's part of my stretch story. But anyway, they told me that I have mid to mild, I don't know what that means, but degenerative stuff going on. But they also said that I could be fixed with proper stretching and physical therapy.
Before it's too late, like me.
So maybe I'll go to physical therapy once a week or something and get somebody to. I want to do what you do, though. I want that back room treatment.
So I think if you're mild or moderate on your disc degeneration, you're right. You have hope, and you can do some things to slow down that process. And so the severe one is what you don't want. So I'm proud of you. So like, at least you know now that, hey, wait, I need to start doing a few things to help.
Okay.
But
speaking of stretching,
it all starts with the screen, and whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, FFFFF.
Rank.com.
Or
greatfuckingscreens.com.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it way more funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay.
It's the easiest way.
Alex's butt dialed me yesterday.
It's nice when it does that, isn't it?
Chatted with him briefly and told him about, I was like, hey, are you going to Print Hustlers? Did you get your ticks? I did.
You got your ticket already?
Bought them. 2.
Nice.
Yeah. How about you?
Cool. Not yet.
Well, it is in Newport Beach, California, and
one of your
Joe
favorites.
and I we know that area. A little bit south of there is where we usually hang out after Long Beach, and so every year we're familiar. We've got the ins and the outs if you want to know like where to eat and things like that.
If you're listening and you want to go do something fun, maybe check out Print Hustlers in Newport Beach.
Yeah, November 5th, 6th, 4th, 5th, 6th, 4, 5, 6.
Nice.
If you or your art department could use some love, then you need to go to 1-900-HOTStuff.com and get in touch with Nick or Lucas.
Nick Lucas.
At Graphics Source and let them run your art department so you can focus on running your
mouth.
Yeah. Choosing the right emulsion for your shop is complicated, and that's why we love Chromaline. Go to chromaline.com to watch Kev's vids, or contact him on Instagram at the Emulsion Guru, or just come to our camp. He's going to be here in person, in flesh, live.
Give him a big old bear hug.
And then he's got answers.
With consent.
That dude.
But yeah.
Also at our camp are the team from Howard Custom Transfers. If you're not using DTF or screen print transfers in your shop, then you are a moron. That's the PG version. We have partnered with Howard Custom Transfers to get you the transfer you need fast. Check them out at howardct.com.
Yes. I apologize to Candy again today because I am being a bad customer, but I don't have any other choice. And I apologize, but I feel like every order I put in with them over the last 2 weeks has been a rush overnight. So I'm saying to you and to the world, Candy, I'm sorry. I appreciate you more than anything in the world. And
well, she just texted me and said she does not accept your apology.
Oh, that's very nice.
Too bad. I thought you were going to apologize because we owed them they have the hat art for the transfer, but they did not have the toad art, which you were supposed to do for 2 weeks. And I would be like, hey, Dylan, hey, hey Dylan. And then I just knocked it out over here.
Yeah, you did it.
No. But I did, kind of. So guess what? Guess who our guest is today?
I don't know who we got.
Dylan, today we are chatting with Brian Geffen from Duds for Dudes, located in one of the best places on earth, San Diego, California. How do you say California?
California.
Exactly. It's just like that. Hello.
What's up, dude?
What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
There's too many. I shouldn't have said dude. It was too on brand.
Very on brand. What's up, dudes?
How are you, man?
I'm doing well.
Are you guys busy as shit right now?
It's starting to get crazy. June was weird. I don't know how your guys' June was. June was weird. July's been like picking up, and August is looking like it's going to be pretty nuts.
It's awesome. Yeah, we were just talking about how it seemed to be picking up over here. I don't know if it's just positive vibes in the world or people are sick of not spending money or what's going on, but it seems to be pretty nice.
I just had a walkthrough with a customer, and we were talking about how I feel like things have been funky for whatever reason, but I also think customers are finally starting to plan ahead again as opposed to last minute because they're so unsure of what's going to go down. So I don't know. Planning for the future a little more is helping too.
What is that sick ass chair behind you?
This is, everyone says I'm not a Star Wars guy, but apparently there's some Star Wars dude that sits in a chair kind of like that. I don't know.
Yeah. It gave me vibes of the chair or the art from Beetlejuice that she sits in and it like comes to life and like grabs her.
Totally. It's from Vari. You guys familiar with Vari, Vari or Varidesk?
No. Dude, it looks comfy.
Varidesk. Yeah.
Their stuff is like their furniture is legit, but all their whole setup is legit. Shout out to them for turning me on to those guys.
Varidesk are the standing desks.
Is that the one?
Well,
I
actually, you can sit or stand. They go up and down.
I think that's
exactly
the one I have.
Mm-hmm. I have one right now, but they also make a limited amount of furniture. But when we moved into our new spot, which I'm sure we'll probably talk about, we needed some new furniture, and we got most of our new stuff from them. And the budget is it's budget friendly and super comfy and looks cool.
That looks awesome. It looks like you got options.
I think I've sat in that chair, by the way, for a grand total of like 15 minutes since 2 months ago. But it's been a very comfortable 15 minutes.
Right. That's all that matters.
What made you get a standing desk?
Oh, man. Not my back. I'll tell you that right off the bat. But it definitely helps. I've had a standing desk forever. So I don't even have a chair. Like right now, I literally don't have a chair, except for that one. I think I got this thing, man, like almost 10 years ago, just because they seemed cool. And then I had ankle surgery. And at that time, I wasn't standing that often. It was kind of here and there. And then I had ankle surgery. God, when was that? I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. And I noticed a significant difference when I was standing more than sitting. No question.
Like for the better, I'm guessing.
For the better, yeah. I have one of those like super cushiony mats underneath me.
Oh, I do too. Yeah. Like right here, I got it.
Yep.
It's like this thick.
I only trip on it like 3 times a day, but it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I go back and forth. Like I bought the standing desk because my back would hurt from sitting in my chair all day. So I thought, oh, it'd be better to stand and whatever. So I got it to where I could easily move it up and down and I could go between standing and sitting. But I can stand for like maybe 2 hours and then I'm like, my back hurts from standing. And then I sit for like an hour and then I go back to standing. And it's like, I don't know. I bought this like fancy saddle stool that's like a roller. Like the nice reason I got it is because I can roll under my desk. So when I want to stand, like I just push the chair forward and like stand. But that thing is a fucking ball buster. Like it's like so crushes my manhood when I sit in it. So yeah, I think it's just pushing me to stand more.
Have you guys seen they're like treadmills that you
Yeah.
can like slowly walk on. And
Mm.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but
I almost
probably
bought
pretty
one of
good for you.
those a little while ago where it's got like the pedals, like a bike that goes under your desk where you can like just lock your feet into it and pedal.
Mm.
And then you like power all the electricity for the shop that way too.
No, everything would be dead because I wouldn't do it all day. But I don't know. It's like, I don't know if it's a weird gimmicky thing or if it actually is helpful.
It probably helps. I mean, whether you're sitting or standing all day, I think either extreme is bad. And so like you were just describing, standing, then you sit, then you stand, then you sit. I think that's good. Even my Apple Watch says, hey, it's time to stand. If I'm ever sitting or whatever, or laying down, it just tells you for a good reason that you should not do that like too much. And so
Mhm.
I think there's something behind it. I think you're doing fine. You're doing the right thing. Sit and stand,
Okay.
sit and stand.
All right,
Just don't do one of the most. And I'm not a doctor, but feel like that will work for you. So
Thanks.
we could talk about this the whole episode if you want to.
I'd rather not. No. How long have you been into this? You said you've been standing at that desk for 10 years. So
Yeah. So God, I started the business in 2003. Actually, I was a freshman in college. I went to Colorado, University of Colorado, go Buffs, and started the business in my dorm room for beer money. Like I think a lot of us have. I feel like it's either that story or the band story is like 80% of the business. But,
so you were printing shirts in your dorm?
I wasn't even printing them. So back up to high school. So I was on ASB in high school, and I was like the class shirt guy in high school. So I knew a local guy here in San Diego, and when I joined a fraternity in Colorado, and they said, "Hey, does anyone that can make our Rush shirts?" And I sort of raised my hand, and next thing I knew, I was the t-shirt guy and used my guy out in San Diego, and he'd ship stuff to Colorado. And then my roommate, who was bit of a douchebag, asked if I could do some shirts for his fraternity. And I said yes, knowing I was going to buy the shirts from the local guy here and just add literally 50 cents to each one and just sell it to him. And then that's kind of when the light bulb went off. I made, like $50 or whatever. And in those days in Boulder, you could get beers for like 50 cents or $1. It was like a week's supply of beer. So just kind of kept doing it just as a super side hustle. I didn't know anything about printing. I kept outsourcing this guy in San Diego, who in retrospect, quality was probably not very good, but I didn't know any better. And I was kind of his glorified sales guy, and grew through school. I think that first year, my sales, I was thinking about it. I think $6,000 in gross sales was my first year.
You were doing this for profit, not just for I'm going to help out like an order here and there for the fraternity or whatever. You're doing this to try and raise, like you said, kind of a side hustle cash to pay for whatever you're doing.
For beer.
All for beer. So on that
beer.
note, by the way, you mentioned you had a douchebag roommate. So I potlucked in on my first year of college in my dorm, and I got this guy, and his name was Brett K. But he threw up so much, like in our dorm room, in my fucking room, that we called him Yak, or Brett Yak, like backwards spelling of his name. And so he was just fucking Yak, like all the time. Every single day I had to deal with vomit.
That's brutal.
Brett, if you're out there, he had a Corvette too. So I don't know if that
Brett.
comes.
Hey, Brett, if you're out there, fuck you.
Yeah, I had to deal with that for a whole year.
He didn't want you to call him Corvette Brett.
I like that too.
That would have been better, Vet Brett.
And the second thing, I had a second thing. Oh yeah, you said fraternity. And I swear to God, every month or something, we get an email that says, "Hey, you motherfuckers, quit printing Greek gear. We're going to sue you." Like, do you guys get that too? Still to this day?
So, not to this day. So we've gotten out of that business. So when we first started the business, it was totally illegal, right? It was just through friends and networks and whatever. And then by the time, I think my senior year, I actually like set it up legit. But we weren't licensed. I don't even think I knew about Greek licensing yet at that point.
Nobody knows about Greek licensing until they get that fine letter of like $100,000. And then you're like, either, all right, I'll suck the Greek licensing thing, or I'll just never do it again. I feel like that's the make or break at that point. Like,
You know what I hate? You know what I hate is the fact that it's a letter and they can license it. It doesn't seem fair, and the world doesn't seem fair.
I don't know.
By the way, I'm going to license the alphabet. And if you use it in any way, shape, or form,
I don't know the exact story, and this might be totally wrong, but I was told a long time ago that it was just some jackhole guy that basically was trying to trademark a bunch of shit and ended up getting in with some judge or something that basically let him do that with the Greek alphabet. And then from here on out, he's basically got like anybody who wants to use it has to pay the licensing.
Yeah,
So.
and it's kind of screwy. Like we actually never got a letter from them when we weren't licensed. When we were not licensed, we didn't hear a word from them. And then we decided to get licensed because at that time we were doing a lot of Greek stuff. And on multiple occasions after we were licensed, they were threatening, oh, we heard you did stuff for this fraternity or that sorority or whatever, and you're not licensed for that particular one. And so it wasn't until we actually went out of our way to pay them the legal money we thought they owed them that they started coming after us for even more. So long story short, we got out of Greek printing years ago. It just wasn't the sorority business I always loved. They were organized. They wanted nice premium stuff. Sometimes they would say thank you. The fraternities, it was always tough, man. Like they needed it yesterday for no money and no appreciation. It was tough. But that's what got us started, right? That was the network I had, and
it was your gateway drug.
It was the gateway drug for sure. The gateway drug, I'll tell you guys a fun story. The gateway drug actually made me feel like a legitimate drug dealer at the time. So our big rivalry was Colorado State. They were the Rams. And so I think my sophomore year, I decided to print up like 500 shirts, gold shirts, black ink on the front. It was a buffalo kindly mounting a ram
as one
behind.
does.
And it said, ram this. And I think it was like 500 shirts. And I was really nervous. Like, oh my God, am I going to get caught with these or whatever? And we sold out super fast. I think we're selling them for $20 a pop. So good margin on that, as you can imagine. Everything was outsourced by this guy. And so then my junior year, I think I did 1,000 shirts. It was always the first game of the season. And I would just post up on campus, just like with a big duffel bag, like, those huge, like hockey style duffel bags, just slinging shirts, totally illegal, but cash money. It was so fun. Sold those 1,000 super fast. And so the next year I knew if I had the proper distribution, I could sell a hell of a lot more than 1,000 shirts. I just needed help. And so that next year we did 5,000, and I used my fraternity brothers to help. And basically we all had our duffel bags posted all over campus. And I legit at that point felt like a drug kingpin.
This is just straight up drug dealing. It was
t-shirts. Straight up. Yeah. Because these guys were all in these spots, and all I did was go around and collect the cash. And every once in a while, like campus police or real police would come up and say like, hey, do you have a seller's permit? And we'd say no. And
I'm picturing you in like a lowrider Cadillac with your window down, pulling up to one of those like security gate guys and just sliding him a bill in his pocket and being like, you didn't see anything. And then just like keep driving.
It was some of the security guys thought it was funny, and the other guys would like take our name and number and say like, if we catch you doing it again, you're out of here. And that was fine. Those guys would be done. And then I just put another fraternity brother on the same corner. I mean,
you don't give them the real name, right? You say it's like McLovin or something. I mean, you don't say.
I got popped a couple different years. I gave him my real name. I never lied to anyone. But it got pretty wild, and it got to the point ultimately. Then we started having copycats. That got fun. So then by my senior year, we started having guys that would print like the same shirt. But because we were making them in such bulk, I would put our guys literally next to the copycat and just say, sell it for less than $1 every time they offer it. And then ultimately those guys would get pissed, and we just buy their stock at a discount and then resell their stock too. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Even more so a drug dealer.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
The only thing you didn't do was like put hits out on them.
Yeah,
no hits. Ultimately, it got screwed up.
Hung them from the street light.
the campus bookstore was unhappy because they had their classic game day store shirt that they would sell at their store. And people stopped buying those shirts. Like by the time my senior year and even after I graduated, I would come back just to sell those because it was so fun and so profitable.
It sounds so fun. You're like, I wish that was a part of our company now. Like
you
that
were
would
Heisenberg.
just be...
You were selling the blue stuff.
Exactly. But yeah, ultimately they banned our shirts. They banned the shirt. So there was a season where they said, if you're wearing this shirt, we will not allow you in the stadium. And so it got banned, and that was that. And it was fun while it lasted, but fun little story I thought I'd share with you guys.
The DEA got you in the end.
Yeah. So that was
so you were addicted.
But that was my taste. That was my taste into like, wait a minute, you can make money selling shirts. And so when it was time to graduate, I could go get a real job or keep doing this t-shirt thing. And
so what was your real job?
Well, it probably would have been something in sales. The guy we were outsourcing at that time was highly flaky. He needed to be babysat big time. He had a print shop. It wasn't even in his garage. He converted his backyard. He like built this shack that he printed. I think he was a 6-station manual something. And I don't even know exactly what he had, but it was like this shack, and he needed to be babysat so badly. So summer of my junior year, I actually had a job opportunity. I was living in Arizona. So I brought my best friend on board, JT. And that's when we officially became the dudes. I don't know how I think JT technically thought like
he didn't think too hard about it. I don't think
we didn't think too hard. I say dude quite a bit. I my boys, I call them, hey dude. Well, yeah, exactly. I just did it without even thinking about it. That's my go-to as well. I always tell people that like I'm horrible with memorizing people's names, like even people I've met 100 times. So I always just say, hey dude, or like that's my go-to. To just be like, I know who you are, but I don't know your actual name. Yeah, it's like Bud. A lot of people say Bud. I'm not a Bud guy. I'm
or a chief. I can't do it.
Boss.
More of a dude or dudette, I guess.
So that's when it was formed. It was born then.
So that's when we became the dudes. It started me for a couple of years, and then JT came on board. He went to Mizzou, actually out by you, Andy, I guess, sort of, kind of. And he started selling to Greek life at Mizzou, but most importantly, he was there in San Diego here in the summers to help babysit our printer at the time.
So you were printing in San Diego, shipping all the way to like here, Mizzou, or to Colorado. Like that's it's got to be like 4-day ground ship to here anyway. And so you got to factor that in somehow, especially if they're last minute, like you said.
Why didn't you try another printer?
Because it was just beer money.
You didn't know?
It was just beer money to us. It wasn't a real thing. It was easy. It fell into our lap. We weren't really very proactive about getting orders. They just kind of came. We were both fairly networked within the community, so it was just easy. And working with him was easy until it wasn't. I think it was the first summer after I had graduated, we had 2 jobs due for actually local fraternities. And the guy that ran this shop disappeared on us, and these jobs were due and we couldn't get a hold of them. And we were like, we got to deliver for these customers. So we ended up actually breaking in. JT and I broke in. You could like kind of go around the side gate he had. And we broke into his little shack, and literally on the spot, basically pulled an all-nighter and taught ourselves how to actually print. And we printed these 2 small orders. I still remember to this day. I can't remember which fraternity, but I remember it was like this Burberry kind of pattern. I'm sure it looked horrible when we were done with the shirts. And they were literally like hot. Like we pretended like his house was our house. Oh yeah, come meet us at our house and we'll have the shirts ready for you. They were still hot. I wish I could see one now. I'm sure they just looked horrible. But at that moment, after that insanely stressful period, JT and I realized we need to find somebody else. This isn't working anymore. And that's when we ultimately.
Why didn't you consider that someone else to be you?
Because everybody had told us don't get into it, contract it out. Like everybody we had talked to, friends, family, the few kind of people we sort of knew in the industry, everyone said at that point, especially just outsource until you have more business. And so that was what we did for like a year. We had a small manual shop we were outsourcing one type of job to, and then we had a shop. I think they had 3 autos at the time, and we would send our bigger stuff to them. And that was the first time I even learned about the power of automatic, presses and all that.
I think that's smart. I think that if you are just starting out and you are, maybe sales is your thing, and you have all of these accounts and you're good at networking and all that stuff, you can, like, I guess you could grow your business much faster because you're not spending any time in production. You're not dealing with any of that stuff. You're not, I wouldn't say wasting time, but you can spend all of your time in sales. And so I think that's smart. I did
it for like 2 years.
But what makes us then all of a sudden take it under our roof? Is it the control? Like, you can control production, the times and stuff like that? Is that what it is? Or do you want to be able to do it, yourself because it's fun, or you like the idea of manufacturing? I mean, what makes us not just all be contractors,
Well, so we got in and out of it twice. I'll tell you the first time and the second time why, and I think why it failed the first time and why it has worked the second time. So we were using this one automatic shop, and then we were using the manual shop, and we were working out of we were at that point literally working out of my bedroom in my parents' house, and my sister was going to school, and we used her bedroom. We actually we owned a Geonite heat press. That was the first piece of equipment we bought. And we had that, and I have memories literally sitting on the floor of her room, like just pressing
for like small quantity orders or something,
like names and numbers was all that was for. And anyway, so we knew we needed to get out of my parents' house. So we started looking at leases, and we found the perfect spot for us. And literally the day we were going to sign the lease, the owner, there were 3 owners of that automatic shop, and one of the owners called us and said, "Hey, I'm leaving. Do you guys want to come rent my space? Do you want to move in here and take some of the space I'm using and just rent us, rent some space here, and we'll keep printing for you?" And literally the day we were going to sign our own lease, and they made us a sweet deal. And so we did that. So we literally moved into the shop we were contracting, and very shortly, when that guy left, their sales like plummeted. And so now they had all this extra equipment. And so they gave us a deal. I still remember we paid $2,000 a month to use their 8-head automatic press. They would burn all screens for us that we needed burned, reclaim everything that needed to be reclaimed. And we had full access to their ink. All we needed to do was hire our own printers and do our own design.
And that was a flat, no matter how many you printed or did, it was flat. $2,000.
Flat.
And that was during like normal 8 to 5 type stuff, or after hours? Were they running a shift and then you had to work around that?
So they were just running one shift at that time. But they had this press sitting there. So I think to them, ultimately they went out of business. Okay. So they obviously weren't great at business in the first place. Right. And it was just a no-brainer for us. It was like, holy crap, for $2,000 a month, we can get a taste for getting into production ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
And see if it's the right fit. We have no debt on this, right? It was ridiculous. It was too good to turn down. And so we just had our own space within their shop that was ours to use whenever we wanted, early mornings, late nights, weekends, whatever. But ultimately, I'll tell you, we were, in my mind, looking back on it, we were too small to be doing that. And so like you just said, Andy, it was a headache. I was good at talking to customers. I wasn't good at worrying if one of our 3 guys actually showed up that day, and then I'd be out there catching shirts. And so I just kept asking myself, is this what I should be doing? Is this the best thing I could be doing with my time right now to grow this business? And the answer was no. And so ultimately we got out. We got out of it with no damage, which was awesome.
If it was a month-to-month thing, you could walk away at any time.
Yeah, exactly. And so we went and we rented space. We still outsourced those guys to do our stuff for a while after that. But it was great to not have that headache and focus on the growth. But then we grew, then we got to a point where I felt like I needed that control, because the rush jobs and it just became too much of a headache to not have that control. And ultimately that's when we went back into it.
Okay. Pause right there.
Yeah.
Looking back at that day when you decided to, okay, I'm going to purchase an auto or whatever, and I'm going to bring production here in house. Do you regret that? Or do you think you should have stayed the course with, sales?
I think it was a great move for us. I think it was a great move. We bought, so we actually, the way we got into it. So while we were contracting, we had started to build up a bit of a sales force. At that time, we were kind of going away from the fraternity stuff, and we were focusing more on schools and teams. That was really becoming more of our focus. And so, we were very good at the front office, all the pre-production stuff. We were very good at that. Right. But we outsourced everything else. And so you can grow organically, you can grow through a sales force, you can grow by acquisition. So, but why pick one? So I knew I wanted to buy a business. And that was how I wanted to get into production again.
Why?
As opposed to start from scratch.
Why that route? Like, what made you buy an existing screen printing company?
Yeah. I thought it was a way to catapult a bit of sales. But we also I knew at that point, I knew enough about the business to know that like we weren't going to just dive in with like one automatic and that was going to be sufficient for us. We were outsourcing just way too much. And so the initial startup cost, I guess, in my mind, to go and buy a couple automatics and a whole shop all at once versus finding somebody who's maybe struggling and getting a discount on the same stuff.
It sounds so shitty when you say it that way. Like I get what you're doing, but it's just to be like, let me find someone who's struggling.
Well, I think that exists out there. I think that there's some people that are really great at running
I'm not saying it was wrong. I'm just saying when you say it, like I'm going to find
that's a good match or a good fit. Plus, I guess you gain an instant team. You're not buying 2 autos and a dryer and all this stuff, and then you have to hire 10 people and then train them. If you buy an existing business, you hope anyway that they have a team in place that knows how to do some of that stuff. And
we just talked to some people that did that.
Who
we talked to Chris. Remember he retired and bought a screen printing shop and turned it around.
Oh, yeah.
So you did that.
Yeah. So we did that. And I think those guys would be, when I say struggling, I mean, they were on the fringe of going out of business. And so I think the reality is had we not bought them, they would have got $0.
Right.
So we're actually just so generous, right?
You're heroes.
We're heroes. We're heroes.
Yeah,
so we looked at 5 different businesses, and I got really addicted to like mergers and acquisitions. I thought it was so fun to just like look at the numbers. I've always been a numbers guy. Math and science is my thing. I love in this industry, I love the math and science of it, not the arts and crafts. And so I just, at that point I realized I really love like deal making. That's my jam. And so, so we looked at 5 businesses. Some were healthy, some were really on the brink of, and it was the 6th one that ultimately really was the right fit. And it was,
can you tell me, because that's not really my thing, but can you tell me like what are the like 5 or 3 or whatever like bullet point things you're looking for in a business to be like, this is a good pick to acquire?
Number 1, struggling.
No, not even. So at that time, I knew we were really good at pre-production, but we were horrible at production because we didn't have any. So I wanted to find a shop that seemed to be that was underutilizing the amount of equipment that they had, number 1, because I didn't want to have to buy a bunch of equipment on top of buying a shop. That was 1. Number 2, I wanted to find a shop that was open to creative financing because I didn't really have much money to, it's not like I went and paid a fortune for a shop. So
what's the creative financing? To just be like, I'll buy you out, but I'm going to pay you monthly?
Yeah, monthly payouts. I think this deal we paid over 5 years, if I remember correctly. I think we did it over 5 years.
And the ownership stayed on, or the ownership walked away on that?
The ownership walked away. So the biggest piece on why this particular business was the right fit was they had because they were sort of struggling, they neglected a lot of the equipment. So at the time they had a Gauntlet RS. It was a 810 and an Anatol, like the old school Anatols, like the purple ones. It was what is it called? A Triton or a Titan. It was a 1214, I think is what it was. But they were neglected. Like that 8-color Gauntlet had one head working when we bought it. It just needed a couple grand put into it to like nurse it back to health. It was nothing crazy. So they were underutilizing the equipment they had, and they had some really good bones, like on the production side. I could tell from interviewing their guys, like they had a good team. They were producing really good quality work from what I knew. It was the front office that was really more of a struggle. And that was really our jam, right? So you took our great front office with their solid core, production personnel, and it worked out well. And I think it was, even looking back on it. Go ahead.
I feel like that's something that not a lot of people talk about in public, but we all talk about behind closed doors, where like even me, like I'm guilty of it. And like other people I talk to that I'm friends with, it's like, we're really good at figuring out screen printing, talking to our friends to figure out all the nitty gritty and down to detail of like the fucking science of screen printing and like all this other stuff. We can make production amazing. Like we can buy the equipment, we can do everything, but we suck at sales, or we suck at social interactions, or we suck at just like being the salesy person. We want to be the guy behind the door just producing things. So there are a lot of shops that I feel like out there that have amazing shops that can produce and have good staff and everything, but they just suck at getting sales in, or they don't suck. They're just like cruising along, like just doing like word of mouth. You know what I mean? They're not like actively doing anything. And it sounds like from your story, like you guys were just really good at like front house, like getting sales in, reaching out, doing all that stuff. So I feel like you could kind of cherry pick shops where you're like, hey, we can bring you a fuckload of business, or we can buy you and you guys can produce all of our business.
Yeah. And honestly, like we weren't that good at sales specifically. We were solid, right? And we were highly good at customer service, I would say, highly good at that. And still are, I would argue, but sales.
But I feel like that's most of sales. It's just being good at customer service.
Yeah. But we weren't like whale hunting, like, but yeah, we were sticky, right? If a customer came in, they would stick around for a long time just because of how we would treat them. And so
that's awesome.
And the other ace up our sleeve is because we outsourced, we actually outsourced the shop we were going to buy for like 2 months to see what we were getting back from a production perspective, to see what was happening. So that was kind of cool too.
When you acquired them, were you looking for any of their clients, so they obviously had sales. So you're going to acquire this company. Yeah. You wanted good bones and that you wanted production, you wanted equipment that you could nurse back to health, like you said. But did they have a book of business that you also wanted? And if so, isn't it one of the hardest things to do to retain that? I mean, don't you expect to lose half of them, just for whatever reason, because I was used to dealing with, Bill, and Bill's gone now. So fuck you, And so like, what do you like that happens, and so
that's exactly what they say too. You're not Bill, fuck you.
Yeah. So yes, we part of, how we came up with the number was how much of the customer base do we think is going to stick around? Mm-hmm. And we talked to some of the key customers as well. And the key, most of the customers, we thought 50-50, maybe not. Once we got in there after a couple months, we realized that we were not the right fit actually for most of the customers.
Price wise, because of cost or what they were paying. Yeah.
We've always, from day one to this day, even doing more on the contract side, we have always been the premium reliable guys. We have never been the price point. Like I don't play the, can you beat this by a penny game? I don't do that. I never have. Have I lost a ton of business because of it? Absolutely. But that's not business that we want.
Right.
And so when we bought them, half that customer base right off the bat, we were just too expensive for, and I was okay with that. And another 25.
I was going to say, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but is this a thing where before you buy a business, you can write in a contract, like that they are responsible to reach out to all their clients and introduce you?
So they,
I mean,
so
like,
they have,
I feel like it would be a smoother transition if you were like, if Bill was like, hey, just want to let you know, like, I'm stepping out, or I brought someone on the team. You don't even have to say you're stepping out, but like, your orders are going to now be handled by you.
And they'd probably be cool with that until they find out your price. And they're like, well, it doesn't matter if, how cool Brian
No, but I'm
is.
just saying it's kind of like, it's a little smoother when it's an introduction and not just
True.
like they go to place an order and it's a totally different company.
We had the same thing happen here, though. So I acquired, it was more like that he was going to go out of business, and he came and worked here. And because of his certain, like the family situation, and he just needed to step away from his shop because he was there 24/7. And he was like, man, my life, I can't get this to run smooth at this point in my life. I have kids and all this kind of stuff. And so he came to work here. We got their book of business, and the same exact thing happened, that while he was even here and he could help them still, like that person was like Bill or whatever was still available, but the pricing model didn't work. And they're like, whoa, no, we can't. What do you mean you're going to charge that much? Like, there's just no way. And so we lost those customers anyway. You know what I mean?
Which is why that you probably had to acquire that person, because their business wasn't doing good because they weren't charging enough.
Yeah, but I think that happens a lot. I think that's very common. I think that when you're when you're new and you don't have a big customer base, how do you go out and get it fast? Like, one of the ways is to be the price point. Like, hey, I'm cheaper.
Race to the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, hey, I'll do it cheaper than you're paying now. And so you maybe win that customer, but all of a sudden now you're like, you won them at that price. And then what do you do? Where do you go? And so you have all these customers that maybe makes sense when you're just a one person running an auto, but then you start to add and you start to scale and add a team. You can't afford it anymore. You got to raise your prices.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's ego, right? Like that automatic shop that we were sharing space with that went out of business. I remember to this day the reaction that one of the owners, he came in, he was like, guys, we just had our first $1 million year. And I could see like the shit that was going on there on the back end, and they just weren't running this business properly. And I said to Paul, was the guy's name. I said, well, that's great, Paul, but what were your expenses this year? He's like, well, 1.2 million. I'm like, okay, who cares about $1 million a year when you're losing money hand over fist? Yeah. Like, I'd rather have a $50,000 a year and make 10 grand. Right. Like,
Josh, everyone knows Josh Grizzly Wheeler, but like, he said something to me once that sticks with me with that kind of thing, is like, money changing hands isn't the same as making money. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he might have made $1 million, like brought in $1 million. You could say I'm a $10 million company or whatever, but when your expenses is, like you said, like 10.2, it's like, you didn't make shit. Like, you're in the negative, dude. Like, just because you had this huge order come in doesn't mean anything when you undercut it so much that you're not making any money on it, or, you just are bad with money. You're not a $10 million company. Like, I don't know. It's just, it's different. You could go low and slow and have like smaller numbers, but have a huge margin and be doing better than the guy who's got 35 autos that's doing everything for pennies.
One of our core values here is grow strong, not fast. It's exactly the opposite of that, right? Like, my business mentality is a pyramid, right? The wider the base of that pyramid, ultimately the taller it's going to get. You got to spend the time to widen the pyramid, right? And that's not fun or sexy. But the wider you ultimately, when you invest in the width, ultimately you can get the height, as opposed to too tall, too fast.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
I didn't mean
that
it
was coming out. I was ready for that.
You knew that was coming. Yeah. Well, that's good. So I interrupted you a little while ago, but like, what did you do next then? Because you're a different shop now. You kind of went the other way. Like, you're not dealing with customers necessarily. You're a contract shop now, right?
Yeah. So when we bought that shop, so I bought JT, my business partner. I bought him out. Everyone always says, well, who's the other dude? So I bought JT out. JT moved to New York, bought him out. And I know, Dylan, over the various podcasts, you talk about partnering with people and all that. And JT is still my best friend in the world, but I would, it's much easier just to make a decision and
by
move
yourself.
Forward. Yeah. And we worked well together and all that. No, after he left, it made me realize, like, if I just want to do something, I just do it.
Exactly.
So anyway, so he left, And as soon as we moved into that shop, that was 2014, just timeline wise, July of 2014. The second we moved into that shop, because we moved our, front office operation into their production, we had already outgrown the space. It was 3,500 square feet about is what they were in. And we had fully outgrown that personnel wise, job wise. It was crazy. Like first thing in the morning, we'd have to take, so reminder, we're in San Diego. So we can, in Southern California, we love using alleys and parking spaces and all that as shop space because of, the weather. And so the first thing we would do every morning was take all of our shirts or a lot of pallets out of the shop. And the last thing we do at the end of the day was bring them back in. And that was the space we had. So
we know of a shop, in Southern California that has a parking lot, a pretty large parking lot, but they've maxed out their building. And what they do is they keep all of their pallets outside at night, and they hire a security guard just to stay there. They could have 100,000 shirts outside because that's space that they don't have. You know what I mean? That they're trying to use inside, and they just have security. It's cheaper anyway than having a building.
Exactly, because rent. I think all Southern California shops and other areas in the country, but I only can speak on Southern California. Like our rent here is so stupid expensive that I think most California shops are so much tighter when you walk into them compared to the average shop in other spots where real estate, just the rent is just so much.
You have to make the most of it.
Yeah. It's like rents here are, so California's a little different too, but rents here, we do it by the month instead of by the year. I think usually you guys say like $24 a square foot, and that's what you pay per year. Here they do it $2 a month, but it's expensive. It's really, really expensive. And so, $2 a square foot per month. And so you really got to utilize every square inch. And we did that in that 3,500 square feet. But ultimately we knew we needed more room, not just to live day to day, but to grow, because the plan at that point was to grow. So we moved.
Right.
We moved a few miles away into another building that was about 6,800 square feet, 6,700 square feet. And we only screen printed at that point. And we were doing a lot of schools and team business, and a couple key accounts from the business we bought were more like full package type accounts, I would say. And so just kind of kept growing. I knew I wanted to bring embroidery in house. We outsourced embroidery for a long time before we did finally bring it in house, but we ultimately did. And just kind of kept growing that. Ultimately outgrew that 6,700 square feet. We had to build, we called it the Shark Tank. We built out like this 1,000 square foot. It looked literally like a Shark Tank, just this reinforced metal, because I didn't want anyone to be able to get in, steal stuff. So we added kind of 1,000 square feet there for pallets. And then we kind of rigged some offices and some bootleg mezzanine kind of situation to maximize the space there. And then we outgrew that space fairly quickly. By that time we had gotten completely out of the Greek market, still doing a lot of schools and teams, more full package, and started getting more into the contract print world. And what worked nicely with the contract print world was that type of vendor. And specifically when I say contract printing, a lot of like promotional product distributors is who I'm talking about. Right. So those guys avoid schools and teams because it's a different breed. Schools and teams are tough. Unless you really know how to do it, it's tough. And so working with schools and teams allowed us to still have a direct to consumer, full margin offering, but not sell against our contract customers either. And so to this day, we still do both markets, and it works out. But we were growing, and then COVID.
Did you just like that model? Did it seem more enticing to you?
So we were kind of dabbling in it. And what always bugged me was from the days when we outsourced, right? We were on the other side of the coin. We used to outsource all these guys, and I just could not get over how unreliable every single one of our contract decorators was. I mean, every single one was just so unreliable and unintelligent with the way they were servicing us. And so I always thought, God, I could do this so much better. And I've always been one, like, if there's things in life that annoy me that I think I can do better, instead of just like saying it, I try to do it. Right. Like I'll try to, I try to, one of my friend's dads used to always say, all show, no go. I try to not be that guy. And so I thought, man, if we just are reliable, I think right off the bat, reliability, we could be an awesome contract shop. And so we sort of used all the issues that we had over the years, our experience with the problems. We tried to solve those problems and just be a great, reliable contract shop. And we weren't doing that much of it. Honestly, we weren't. But it was growing, and then COVID hit, and that's when things really changed. Like everybody in our industry, we got deep into the mask world. And what that did for me is it made me realize how much volume is actually out there.
Were you just printing them, or were you one of the people who bought thousands of them and just had them at the ready?
All of the above. So we ultimately sold millions of masks. It was insane. We haven't really gotten into this, but so that equipment that we bought, in 2014, none of that equipment exists here anymore. And so that Anatol, when we sold it and upgraded our equipment, we sold it to a shop in Mexico. It turns out that shop in Mexico is a large cut and sew operation. And they also had their issues. Instead of cut and sewing shirts, they moved to masks. And so we were doing sublimated masks with them. Again, we're like 35 minutes from the border. So it was really easy. So we had trucks coming almost every day just with boxes of blank masks that we were reselling blank and boxes of sublimated masks.
Where were you distributing these? They were going to your schools that you had connections with?
So they were going to schools. So we were early. We were really early to market. And so we had people calling us. It was crazy, guys. Like we had people that just found us because, I heard you could get us 100,000 sublimated masks for XYZ. And, it like totally changed my mentality on average order size. That's possible. We were bidding on just insane jobs. We were working at one point, we were bidding a job for Costco for 25 million masks. And,
25 million masks.
25 million masks is what they wanted in various colors and patterns. And ultimately, we've never been the guys to sell on price. In this case, they narrowed it down to us and we weren't working directly with Costco. It was through a kind of a middleman.
It had to have been cheap. Like it had to be cheap as fuck for them.
It was, and we were cheaper than the other player, but we could only produce 900,000 masks a week for them. And the other guys could do 1.4 in Honduras, wherever they were making them. And ultimately those guys got that contract. And to this moment, I'm like, man, that would have been like life-changing if we got that one.
Just curious, but, you don't have to say if you don't want to, but like what would have that profited you?
I don't know. It would have been millions of dollars.
Would you even have had to touch anything?
No, I would have been like, anxious.
Like you would have just brokered
6
it,
weeks.
right?
I would have brokered it, but I'm pretty like anal retentive. And so even with like working with these guys in Mexico who are great, by the way, they still don't do things the way we do as far as like over the top service and communication. So
right.
You're right. It would have been the easiest millions ever made.
Well, that's what I'm getting at is like, yes. Yeah, I understand that you have the stress and it's going to take years off your life and it's going to whatever until the job's done and out the door and paid and everyone's happy. But still, like to have it just be you at your computer for the most part to make millions.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
But it didn't happen. So we move on.
I think we were all, though, during that time, we were all pivoting to like, what are we going to do? I mean, I considered bringing in, I was going to tie dye, like I was going to make a factory here to tie dye things. We also did a bunch of masks, like tons and tons of masks for, I want to say probably almost 2 months straight. One press just ran masks, and so it was a crazy time and you were trying to survive. And so, you were doing different things. It was wild. I liked the fact that it really shook things up, because I don't know, it was a challenge. It was pretty cool. So I know Alex Mimoser visited you pretty recently, and I'm curious, was that your first? Is the Blue Water your first auto reclaim, or did you upgrade?
It is our first auto reclaim. Yeah, Alex, it was awesome to have those guys out here. But yeah, first one. So in our old spot, I'm big into numbers and automation and all that stuff. And we just didn't have the room for an auto reclaim. I knew we needed one, but we didn't have the room. And so as part of our move into our current space, that was like number one on the list was to get an auto reclaim. So we did a ton of research for like 2 years. And we went with the Blue Water, which we're super happy with. Alex, they've been awesome to work with too. Super awesome. But
was it custom built for your shop?
Yeah, I think doesn't he custom
They all basically. Yeah, kind of. I mean, he has like a basic model of like, this is what it starts with, but usually he's like, it's better if you have more space, or you want to tweak this, or you want to add another thing. And like, they can just make it to suit your shop better. You know what I mean? It's nicer to have that ability than to just do a one size fits all.
Yeah. So one of the things we did was we added an extension on the outside so that our guy loading screens, if he loads a bunch and then he goes to do something else, the machine doesn't stop because there's only enough room for like one ready screen to just be sitting there. So I think we can take 6. I think we can have 6 finished screens before the machine stops itself.
Nice. That's awesome.
I think it's 6. Maybe it's 5.
So on our auto reclaim, just like you described, the chase comes out, and then there's the procs, so like your next one can't come out, because if it did, it would jam into the chase. And so like, yeah, you're right. So we can only have, if you walk away, then there's this chase with 2 screens on it, and that's it. The whole machine gets backed up. That's really, I like that idea. I mean, I guess you could do that with you could custom build any auto reclaim, but it's really great that Alex can kind of just find out what your needs are, what your volume is, and then build something custom that. Or I guess you predict out, you're like, hey, our volume is this now, but we are going to do 2x that, so you can build for the future. That's really cool.
Totally. Yeah. That machine's been, we've done a lot of things since those, 2014 days, as far as upgrades and automation. And I think there's a lot more to be done, but
I saw your video. I had posted it when I did the questions for you, and it looks really awesome. Like, it looks super clean, dialed, like really nice shop. So congrats on that.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited about it. It like killed me for 4 months. Like it was my full-time job for 4 months. No question.
And that's the all new place, right? That's where you guys are at now. And
that's the newest place. Just moved June 1st. That was the move itself was nuts. We never went down at any point between moving from the old place to the new place.
Is this your forever home? That's a no.
Yes and no. I could see us. The goal is to outgrow this space, but I could see us keeping this space and opening something,
separate,
more, in more central U.S. so we can better service some of our East Coast and Midwest and Southern customers.
You should open in St. Louis. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe buy the Struggling Business shirt con.
Find someone whose head's just about to go underwater.
Yeah.
That shirt con. Yeah.
Perfect.
Just push for like a minute or so until the bubbles stop. It's kind of where he's at.
No, it was fun to design this space. We just had like an open space, and which I guess is always the case when you move shops, but it's the first time that we've moved over these various times where we really had a very clear vision on where we're going, and we don't need to guess on, are we going to bring in embroidery? Are we going to, like, what do we think we need? We really have our shit together these days. That's awesome. So it was nice to really design, like we know, like with our current design, we can 4X our business in our current home. But every single aspect here was designed with that intention. And so it's just, we have like a super nice kind of loop. You know, everyone always talks about like having
Good
the right
flow.
loop, and
Yeah.
the flow is the flow is so dialed in here now, and I'm sure we'll change it, right? It's still new and it feels sexy and honeymoony and all that, but it makes the building feel even bigger than it actually is, just because of the layout, which is something I didn't realize I was missing in the old spot. How inefficient. We still have tons of inefficiencies, but the lack of space really was a big efficiency suck, big one.
What is your official role? Like, what does your day to day look like? What are you working on?
Man, it's so different every day. So I spent a lot of time on the sales side. I think a couple people asked about like, what does our sales force look like, and all that stuff. So this is going to shock people, but we have zero sales force. Our reliability is our sales force. And that's part of why I've liked the contract world so much, is because we're so reliable. A lot of these people come to us for that, and they come back over and over and over again. So now I am out sort of hunting those whales. That's me.
Right.
And so I'm spending a lot of time, and that's my favorite thing to do too. I love getting to know customers, seeing what their problems are, figuring out if we can solve them, making people happy. Like that's what I personally like to do. So I do a lot of that. But just bring them in. And then once they're here, I sort of transition them. We call them ISPs. They're our inside support professionals. And so we have 10 of them, and they're all graphic designers by trade, but they also are customer service representatives. So they're kind of 2-in-1s.
That's awesome. So are they doing all the pre-production for the most part too, like making the mock-ups and making all that stuff as well?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's kind of what we do. And it's pretty awesome, to where I don't have sales sending it to an art team and then back, and then whatever, like they're making the mock-ups, they're making the whole thing, sending it to the customer, getting it back.
Yeah.
And then the art department is the one doing the steps. And
we do use graphics as well. Happy birthday, Nick. I think it's his birthday today, from what I understand.
I saw one of the presents he got.
Yeah, so we also use graphics for like the really easy, simple stuff. So when our team is bogged down, use them for simple stuff, because we really try to get back to customers really quickly. We try to never go more than 4 hours without like quoting a job or doing whatever we can.
On that, real quick, do you have an automation for that to make sure you get back to them within 4 hours, or is it just like the office rule of try to get back to them within 4 hours?
We don't have an automation. So we run Printavo. And so we can kind of see certain things in Printavo, like when messages are sent out and responded to. Like we have a pre-production manager, and she can kind of monitor that stuff. But it's more a rule, and a culture than
we kind of have that too, but I kind of was debating some kind of automation to where if for some reason they're busy or haven't got back to them at a certain point, it would send them an automated email like, hey, we got your email, we're on it, we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Just more so it's like they know, like it's confirmation that we got it at least.
We have a phrase, like I would say to our guys, like, I got it, I'm on it. So if you can never get back to a customer quickly, at least just, I got it, I'm on it, send that email. Right. And they at least know, but to automate, that's not a bad idea. Just as I don't know. I'm not smart enough to figure out how to do that, but it sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm sure Steven has an app for that.
The only ones that we let go too long are the ones that come in over the weekend. Like if we have, because our speed to quote is extremely fast, but we miss it. Like if somebody on Friday at 6:00 happens to send over, hey, I need 100 shirts or whatever. Well, they're not going to get anything until Monday. And I think it's a long time to wait. So to have an automation that you can maybe turn on at, like Friday at 5 would be pretty good. But during the week, I think we're good. You know what I mean? I think that it's fine. We're quick enough.
Yeah, we have that same problem too. We're not here on the weekends. I had talked to Nick years ago, and I think they're kind of working on this at Graphics, but it would be cool if we could have a person that we train how to do quotes. And so any quote that comes in, they can quote it for us.
You're talking about over the weekend? During
over the weekend or nights
24/7.
Yeah. All the time, really. I think that would be pretty sweet.
Should be a bot for that, like just a chat GPT bot AI thing.
That
You
would
know.
be sweet. The problem is training, because there's like every job is different, right? Like in different customers. So I don't know, but it would be pretty
I
sweet
trust real people.
Yeah.
So Nick and Lucas, if you could get on that real quick, that'd be sweet. All right, let's hit up some of these listener questions. Some of them a lot of them we already talked about, but let's see if we can get at least a couple out of here. Air2345 says, real question. How do you explain the customer the difference in prints? We don't screen print in-house, but instead we use a contract printer. We use DTG and transfers in-house, but I am always struggling on how to explain to the customer when they want 20 shirts that we are going to do transfers. I don't think most understand the difference, and sometimes I don't even say anything because they wouldn't notice. What's the best way to approach for explaining to the customer and not making transfers sound cheap?
So here we have three divisions here, right? We have screen printing, we have embroidery, and then we have the division we call heat applied product. We don't call it heat press. We don't call it transfers. And I think that's because transfers have this, it's like a 4-letter word in our industry. Yeah. It's ridiculous. And so to me, these days, it's my favorite of all those techniques. It's my favorite. And I could talk to you for 2 hours just about transfers, but we start by not calling them transfers in the first place. You're
calling heat applied products? We
call them heat applied products. And we create a whole category around it, because it's not just a vinyl, and it's not just like I think this right here is a DTF. It's not like I'm just grabbing stuff off my desk, but like here's a random patch, right? Like there's so much stuff that's changed in this industry in the last 2 years with heat applied products that they're not all created equal. And so for us, with our customer base, we're just really trying to educate them. So when they submit an order and a heat applied product is the right fit for that order, we don't just tell them, hey, we're going to give you a heat applied product. We tell them, we're giving you this technique and here's why we're doing it.
Right.
And then if they push back on that, which usually they don't, because if they're coming to us, it's because they trust us in the first place. Then we show them why, right? So the first thing we do is tell them, and then we show them. And if they still disagree or they don't want that technique, then we'll offer them another technique if we can. Because ultimately we've told you and we've shown you and you still don't agree. Okay, fine. We'll screen print it. You're going to pay way too much to screen print your 9-color job, 20 pieces. That we might not even print a 9-color job screen print, but maybe it's 4 colors. But I'd say 95% of the time or 99% of the time, if we tell a customer, this is the best technique for you and here's why, they're going to trust us to.
Right. There's not a lot of pushback.
Totally.
Either that, or they have the insight to adjust their color count or something and say, okay, well, I don't want the heat applied. What'd you call it? Heat applied product. I want screen print, and so I'm going to just go with 5 color or whatever. You know what I mean? So I like it. I think we might change the way we do things here too. The way we describe it anyway. I think it sets expectations better.
It does, and we're always trying to differentiate ourselves in this industry, right? Like what we do water based, or we do silicone, or we do foil, or whatever. Like why are not everybody talking about heat applied product? You can do so much cool shit for fairly inexpensively that is so unique. Just like the crate, like I'm looking at this. Look at this. This is 2 dimensions. It's a sublimated holographic thing. I don't know if that kind of shows on camera, but
it does. Yeah.
It's insane. Like you can't replicate that with a digital squeegee or whatever. And oh, by the way, from a shop owner perspective, for me to apply this to something, if I have the right tools, it's a footprint of 5 feet by 5 feet. It's one person that took 4 hours of training. Mm-hmm. And it's just way easier. It's less dirty. And 9 out of 10
customers are going to be happy, with that.
Totally.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm a big heat press guy. We have a lot of growth in that world for our future heat applied product.
Big Joe 619 says, what advertising is the best method for a business your size?
If someone could tell me, that would be great.
Just you pounding the pavement.
We really don't advertise. I never. The face mask was the best advertising we ever had, because when we were doing that, we found all these new contract accounts that were buying face masks from us that had never printed with us, and now a lot of those guys are our screen printing and embroidery customers. So I think the best advertising we have is being reliable and not missing deadlines, and people being able to, our overall tagline is count on us. That's our tagline, count on us. And so, we don't have booths at shows, or, our social sucks. If anyone's been on there, it's
dude, you have a lot of good sayings, by the way. I think there's probably been 5, not taglines, although the last one was, but just 5 really good sayings. Seriously,
I could talk all day. I got a lot more than 5. But my wife doesn't like a lot of those sayings. They just verbal vomit, constant.
You got to say them in the right space. You don't want to be in a romantic situation with your wife and start saying stuff. Some of those, it's not very good. At that one shop says, just a quick question. I would be interested in knowing what your order process entails. Turnaround time from start to finish. How long does it take you from approval to pre-press? What are your minimum and rush order guidelines? And does one job run on multiple presses? Example, fronts on one press and the backs on another.
Yeah. So I guess that's a lot of questions in one. As far as minimum, so our minimum here. So I think you guys talked about this like a year ago, and maybe when you said this, and it kind of, that's where I got the idea. But we used to do a 6-piece minimum for embroidery and a 12-piece for screen print, and heat applied product. And this year in January, we upped our screen print minimum to 24. And I was a little nervous about, like, are we going to get pushback on that? And in my mind, if we didn't get pushback, probably up it to 48 next year. I can tell you very likely we will probably up it to 48 next year, because the heat applied product category has narrowed the gap so much for so much of the sub 48 stuff. Yeah. As far as turn times go, so we offer a 7 business day turn time. Our standard is a 7 business day turn time for everything except embroidery. Embroidery is an 8 business day turn. And we offer, part of our count on us mentality, that reliability is we try to never say no to any rush. But we do charge for it. And so we'll take same day rushes, next day rushes. I think we have, I'm looking at press. I think we're doing a next day rush right now.
On rushes, do you charge a percentage or a flat fee?
Percent. So I forget exactly the scale, but it's scale. So it's like, 1 day sooner is a 10% rush, 2 days is a 20%, so on and so forth.
I think that's the most accurate way to do it, because if you're like, oh, we're going to charge $100 rush fee, and then it's 1,000 shirts. Well, that's shit. That's a big difference between, that's a lot more overtime, in other words, to get that done on a rush than
we used to do
50 shirts. So
we used to do $1 a shirt for a rush, and then it does suck when it's like someone wants a 25-piece rush or a 50-piece rush, and it's like, cool, I only made $25 on this rush order. So
sometimes we only make $25 on that rush order, right? We do, so keep in mind, we do so much contract work that we're not making the markup on the garment, even in a rush scenario. So it might only be a $300, $400 job, and so
and then you got a rush on top of it.
But back to the previous question, that's our advertising is shit. Duds they're reliable. I'm going to them because they just get it done. I need something. We have a customer. This is crazy to me. We have a customer who does not print. They print with a bunch of people, as every customer should. I don't think anyone should have, all their eggs in one basket, but he will use us when he has a rush job that he doesn't use us to print. He will rely on us to book the courier for him. And he knows he pays us a premium to do that, because he knows we're not going to screw up the shipment. Like that's the reliability factor. I wish he'd give us those jobs in the first place, but
So he won't have the job printed with you. He'll have them printed with somebody else, but then he'll still have you do the courier service.
Yeah, he prints most of his stuff with us, but sometimes like the really, because we're not cheap. We're not, like I said, we're not a cheap shop. So if he has stuff that's like just like a white shirt with black print,
Right.
like 500 of them,
guy
he
who can't mess that up.
somebody else down the street who can't mess the print up, but he doesn't trust them to book the courier properly.
That's awesome.
So
that's just a testament to what you can get done where and why.
Yeah. It's a nice ego stroke for sure when we get that phone call.
Yeah.
So those are our minimums, rushes. As far as our flow, so we have a lot of like hands in the cookie jar. I think every screen printed job that we do here, it's 14 different hands touch it. And I think every embroidered job, I think it's 9, and heat applied, I think is 8 or 9. So we have a lot of touch points within our process. So what is our process? Shirts come in, we check them in. We count everything. There's always this debate with contract shops. Should we be counting? Should we not be counting? We count, it's part of our thing. And more, as you guys all know, more important than ever, right? The reliability of the, the big guys shipping stuff in has become
worse and worse.
Not so reliable.
Well, I think that's okay. Like we do the same thing. So we count in for our contractors, but that's part of the premium service and that's part of the premium price. And that contractor knows that, okay, well, when I drop ship my stuff to Shirkong, that they're going to make sure it's right and they're not printing on the wrong color shirt or not enough shirts or whatever it is. And so I think that certain contractors, the ones who care, they're willing to pay more for that sort of service. And so we just include it into, just like you. I think it's smart.
Totally. So we check it in, and then we stage it. So we have a bunch of U-line carts, and we stage the job in order. I'm just talking screen print right now, but press 1. We have like lanes, right? Press 1, 2, 3, 4, and so we'll just stage based on the schedule, and then we print everything, and then it goes to so actually this is kind of cool. So shout out to Matt Marcotte on this one. So every strike off, so we do a strike off for every single job. The lead printer on that job needs to decide, okay, this passes my QC. If it passes their QC, they then go to the inside support professional who's responsible for that job and shows it to them, and it needs to pass their QC too. So every single job has to be approved by two qualified people here before we run it. And then what we do with Printavo is we take a picture of every single thing we print. So we have a literal picture of exactly what it was. And so we can, if we ever need to go back and see it, it's there. One of the things that we haven't done yet that we're going to incorporate is, in addition to the picture of the garment, have pressure, squeegee angle, durometer, like all that stuff. So a reorder is really
exactly the same.
Yeah.
We do a lot of that.
We're working on that. But so we do that, then we print. Then it goes to QC. So we have a whole QC department. Every shirt is gone through again quickly. And then if it's full bag tagged or finished or whatever, which I think is another super underrated part of our industry, it goes through that department. And then every single job that leaves gets a packing slip put on the box. Oh, everything's color coded here too, which I think is cool. So when things start, we have a white sticker on the top front corner of every single box. And that tells anybody who's here that this job is still in production. But as soon as it gets through QC, there's a new sticker that gets put over the white one that's yellow. And then that shows everybody this job is past QC and it's ready to go out, and certain things happen, whether it's courier or drop ships or whatever it is.
Right.
And then we ship it out, and that's sort of our job flow. Embroidery is similar, as you can imagine. Heat applied products is also similar.
Mm-hmm. Well, you ready for some over under, Sandy?
Yeah, let's do that. So over under, it's a part of our show where I say 9 things and you say if they're overrated, underrated, or properly rated. And the first one is cauliflower crust pizza.
Underrated. Big time underrated. We sneak that shit into the kids all the time, man. Yeah. Dylan's smirking. You not a fan?
Mm-mm. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just it's not my if I want pizza, I want pizza. Like, don't give me fake pizza bullshit.
I think it's probably the maker of it, because we had a frozen. I bought a frozen cauliflower crust pizza, and we made it, like, I don't know, it was a couple days ago, and we didn't like it. And we were like, well, I was just like, when it's like normal crust, you get to chew it a little bit. The cauliflower crust was just like mushy, and we're like, well, this sucks.
Yeah, that's
And
nasty.
we had to bury it in like ranch or whatever, just to, Anyway, so I think it's overrated right now as I stand here, but I'm going to give it another chance somewhere else, and probably fresh. It's way better.
I do agree with you though. Like, my ex-wife was very like, well, she was gluten-free, dairy-free, and like, I always had to buy at the grocery store, like obviously the gluten-free items, especially like the bread. Like there's like, a million different manufacturers and brands of bread. But there was always like one or two that you would get where it would be actually like nice, soft, fluffy bread, not like like you picked it up and you could crack it in half. You know what I mean? So there's got to be good ones. I just don't know which ones are good, and I probably won't try them.
We call cauliflower, I think, is the brand we usually get. I think that's.
And you buy just the crust and then make your own, or is it already fully made?
It's fully made, ready to go. My wife, on occasion, she'll go to like Trader Joe's and get like the crust and do that whole thing. But the cauliflower, actually, Trader Joe's has a cauliflower crust too, I think. But
like a frozen.
You're looking it up right now, aren't you?
I'm looking it up. Cauliflower, yeah, that's the brand. I think they're actually a customer of ours. But give that a whirle.
He had to say that because it's his customer. She's like, yeah, it's great.
No. Give it a try.
Okay. All
right. Number 2 is Costco.
It's also underrated.
Does it have to be Costco, or can it be like Sam's Club?
That's what no, Costco. We can do Sam's Club some other time.
I don't have Costco.
You don't have Costco?
No, I have Sam's Club.
You've got to have a Costco somewhere. Like you're in New York.
There's no Costco near me.
No way.
None. Sam's Club. We're actually just about to get a BJ's. Isn't that the same thing?
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
No clue what that is either.
I know what a BJ is.
It's sad that neither of you know what a BJ is, first of all. But second of all, I think it's the same thing. I think it's like a Sam's Club Costco thing.
Okay. Well, Costco, Brian, do you have one?
We have one. So with the move, Costco is the most epic thing ever. So we have one literally like 200 yards away from us probably. And so to run there and get snacks, like Andy, I think you're big on like getting the team snacks and all that. You probably go to Costco for that.
We do.
I had to guess, but we fed our whole team like breakfast and lunch every day of the move just to try to keep people happy because it sucked. And we go to Costco. Like
Costco is the greatest. I buy so much. I want to go there every day. I buy my gas there. I mean, it just never stops. Everything
in our group text, or someone will say something about something, and Andy would be like, "Yeah, I get that at Costco." He always has to throw in where he got it, and it's always Costco.
Well, I'm just trying to help guys out, help the boys out. So next, number 3, Stampinator.
Oh, such an interesting timing for that question. So we do a lot of heat applied product here. We do not have a Stampinator at this moment in time. I've talked to Jeff. Several people. I haven't actually never met Jeff, but I've talked to a couple of guys at Rock. We run Rock, so I've talked to a lot of the Rock guys. I was just talking to Ross about it actually in Nashville, and the jury is out on it for me. However, we literally just yesterday got a job. So I'll give you the use case. It's a big job, at least for us, it's big. It's 20,000 polos. It's like a piqué knit polo, left chest. It's like a 4-color left chest and a 2-color sleeve. They wanted them heat pressed. And so I said, why don't we screen print it as opposed to, but they're worried about price. And so I said, well, it would be much less expensive at that quantity to screen print than to heat press. And so we just had a conversation literally this morning, that investing in a Stampinator literally for this job is the perfect time to get one and test it out.
To run it on one of your carousels or?
Exactly. So we would screen and then press it at the end, and it would have that heat press effect. And
would you run those? Would you try to run those on like a sleeve palette though, so you could avoid the buttons in the collar?
Haven't thought through it that far, but
because that would be my problem, is if you tried to use a stamp or something like that, you would have buttons in the way. You know what I mean? For your even pressure.
Well, he's going to have sleeve palettes on because you said part of it is a sleeve.
Right. You could just run the sleeve palette for the front and the back. We've done that with polos before, where the buttons were an issue as far as the width of it or whatever it was. And we just loaded them like on a sleeve palette so that like you were doing that side. And then you would have no issue with like a stamp or something like that, because you'd have no buttons or collars.
Jeff, if you're listening to this, we need a Stampinator, polo Stampinator. We need one that's just like small 4-inch, whatever.
It doesn't matter. It'll work on that.
What if it's split? What if it's like two mini and there's a gap in the middle, so you could do like over zipper.
I don't like extra products.
Well, I don't like loading a polo on a sleeve palette, because how are you going to center it right? You know what I mean? So like you're going to struggle with lining it up accurately, I think. You have
the seams though. You have like this much seam to work with. You tell me you can't grab that and load it straight
on a sleeve.
I like your point. Dylan. I think I hadn't thought about the buttons, but I'm with Andy that I'd rather have our team load a polo on a 16-inch palette instead of a sleeve.
Just try it. Have one of your guys that's good with it. Try it. I'm telling you, it'll work.
So I guess as of this morning, I'm going overrated on the Stampinator, but I have a feeling that I will shortly be probably investing in Stampinators for all of our machines after this job.
I'll be completely honest about the whole Stampinator thing. And I've just been playing around with a version of one, and I think the quality of just printing a tee or a hoodie on a flat surface it's great. Like the quality is great. It looks great. All those things, but there are limitations that I'm finding out with M&R, especially, is it has to be on a heads down press. It can't be on one where the table goes up and down, because it's going to touch everything. It's going to touch blank pallets. It's going to touch shit you don't want it to touch, whatever. But if it's a heads down press, it only comes down when you want it to. So like on a rock, it works fine. On a Cobra or a Gauntlet or something, it works fine. But it's just dialing in the temps on it and making sure the pressure is correct and all those things. On the M&R, you have an issue where you have to kind of trick it on an oversized pallet and make sure like the squeegee's moving at the right speed so that you can trick it to be down for that amount of time. So I do think it's a sweet thing, but I do see all these people posting like all these other cases for it and stuff. And I'm just like, just fucking put it on a heat press. Like, why?
I don't like it on an auto.
Why are you buying an auto and fucking heat pressing stuff? Like, stop selling it that way, please. Like, just go buy a pneumatic dual station heat press and just fucking have a guy run it on there and get screen printed jobs on your screen printing press. Mm-hmm. You're running transfers on a fucking $100,000 press when you could be screen printing shit. Like, just knock it off.
Okay, number 4. Taylor Swift.
Properly rated.
I don't really know anything about Taylor Swift other than my brother-in-law stayed up like 8 nights in a row trying to buy tickets, which he finally got in Sweden, of all places. So I'll properly rated.
You really don't know what you should say for the factor of people.
I love the business. I love the business aspect of the, just thinking about like the business of that tour. And, she's
I think she's super smart. I think that she is marketing her team, whatever, is marketing her so well. So I can respect, like you're saying, like the business model of what she's doing is really, really well. Obviously she's doing fucking amazing, but also she writes her own songs. Like, people that are in her caliber that are doing that kind of stuff don't write their own songs. It's someone else's bullshit. Some other person's telling them how to sing it, tell them how to do everything. She does it all herself. So props to that. And also, I think the Red album is fantastic.
So I listened to some of her music, not a lot. I think that I think a generation or two have grown up with her and really love her, and they identify with her, like so much so that if you're watching Instagram these days, you can't even avoid it, but you see the reels and she will sell out like a dome or wherever she's at, an arena, and there will be still 20,000 people outside, like hanging out.
And the tickets are like $1,200.
Their tickets are crazy expensive, and there's people out fucking side the stadium hanging out, singing along because they can hear it because it's outside, an outdoor thing. Yeah. And they just show up to hear that. And then bonus, why she's underrated, she just gave everybody on her tour, like she just spent 30 something $million. And like for example, the people that were driving the trucks with gear on it, each got 100K, like she cares. She understands that like, hey, this tour couldn't happen without everyone. And we're killing it. And so I'm going to share some of that. I think that's really cool of her, instead of like, just building a. You heard
it here. Shirt Show loves Taylor Swift.
You guys need a new intro song, I think.
Can you imagine like just?
I have a daughter though, so like I have to listen to her and Olivia Rodrigo, which is also fantastic, and a couple other people in the car at all times. So.
And you're there, you're singing along, crying with Taylor.
Oh fuck yeah,
I see that
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, number 5, boxer briefs.
Boxer briefs, big fan of the boxer brief. Big fan. Underrated.
I'm definitely a brief guy.
Oh, are you asking boxer or are you saying boxers or briefs? Okay.
Boxer briefs.
The boxer brief is basically the long, not the whitey tighty, but like the longer one that's tight to your body, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Longer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give you some good support. I'm a big Pair of Thieves fan. I think they started at Target. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the Old Navy ones. I have like 30 pair of the Old Navy ones that are all fun. Like I have ones on right now that are like pool floaty, inflatable ducks and pink flamingos.
Can we see them, please?
Yeah, I don't believe it.
Yeah, sure. You want to get down here?
Yeah, I don't.
Can you see? Oh shit, that's not the right camera. Get down in there.
Okay.
Look at that.
Look at that.
That's fun.
Yeah. See, I'm fun. I just fucked my camera.
Okay, number 6, and this will be very provocative, extremely
more
controversial.
Than
that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, maybe not more than that. Rubber-coated pallets.
Like a rubber pad on them?
Like, so we run M&R.
Well, M&R has rubber and Rock doesn't.
And so we've run both, right? We before we ran all our rocks, we ran rubber coated pallets with M&R and Anatol. I guess properly rated. There's advantages and disadvantages, I think, to both.
I was going to say, I think I've never ran the other ones, but I've heard both. I've heard plus and minus to both sides. The M&R ones just hold a lot of heat. And then the honeycomb pallets of the Rock don't hold heat as well, but there's advantages to that.
I love that when you burn one, because we've done that with all presses, you can just change the rubber out. That's kind of cool versus ruining an entire pallet. But it's also kind of a pain in the ass. Like those rubber, like I remember like when it was kind of a pain to put them on. I don't know. How often do you change?
Yeah, they do suck to take on and off.
Not very often. I mean, I guess maybe we get at least 5 years. I mean, they last a long time. They
Once
shrink.
the rubber shrinks enough.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they'll start to curl too.
Because one thing that I really like about the Rocks is that the pallets are so light. They're honeycomb, they're aluminum, whatever. They're really light. But I think I would miss the rubber coating, because I think the rubber coating is forgiving at times, if you have a bump or something. And also, like Dylan said, the heat and everything. So interesting. I don't know. I've never ran a rock long enough to know if I would miss the rubber coated pallets. So I thought I would ask you.
Yeah, the weight of the rock pallets to me is like every new operator who comes to us that it was at M&R their whole life, the number one thing they love is the weight. I mean, we have these huge pallets. I don't know. I think they're for when we do huge towels and stuff. I think they're like 24 by 36, and you see them there and they look like they should be so heavy, and you can like pick them up with one hand. It's crazy.
Yeah. Awesome.
Number 7, Sambas.
Sambas.
Is that a shoe?
Yep. Adidas soccer shoe.
Those Sambas.
Mm.
I've never worn one.
Overrated. That is the shoe I was wearing when I shredded the ankle that caused the surgery I needed that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Fuck those.
Yeah. Fuck them.
I've been a Vans guy my whole life, so.
I have a pair of Sambas, love them. And I was thinking about getting another pair. That's why it came up. I was like, I found a cool colorway that I wanted. All right, number 8.
Wait, hold on. Let me on the colorway. So I was going to say, in my mind, it's always been the classic black and white, which was part of my concern, my issue. But they have colorways now?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Go to Adidas, check them out.
Well, hold on. Well, we're talking about shoe and obviously his company. What about Hey Dudes? Overrated or underrated? Because isn't that a thing now where it's hated just as much as the Croc?
I've never seen a Hey Dude shoe in real life. I feel like I just get like targeted on Instagram and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've seen them. I think it's this whole thing like with women and being like, oh, it's so ugly, and guys that wear Hey Dudes are fucking trash or whatever. But like, they have these sweet camo ones, and I'm like, man, I would totally wear those. But they get a lot of hate, and I don't want to be like hated for no reason. So
I think if you wore those with the pool ducky boxer briefs and nothing else, no hate.
Fucking none. Seriously. They'd be like, oh my God, this guy.
I asked about Chucks last time, and I put Sambas in here. And of course, there's the Vans. And I mention all of these because what's great about those 3 brands is you can wear them almost anywhere. So like you could wear any of those 3, you could wear them to a wedding. You could wear them to work. You could wear them to like, seriously, you pick anything. Any occasion, you can wear a Chuck, you can wear a Van, you can wear a Samba. It's that classic, and I think respected. So that's why I love those 3. It's like you're just ready to go, man. You're ready for the day. Put one of those on. Next, I have number 8, Sprint Hustlers Conference.
Underrated.
I've never been, so I no comment.
Go ahead.
But real quick, there's it just came out Monday. Tickets are for sale. Newport Beach, not right by you, but easily accessible for you instead of flying out somewhere. Should go.
I think Print Hustlers is one of the ones a year that I do look forward to just because it's put on by friends of ours. It's more of a networking event than a try to sell you equipment event. So I look forward to those more. I look more forward to the events that are more hangout events than sit in a room and let me tell you how to buy something.
I love Print Hustlers because it is less about screen printing and more about business and life,
yeah.
So like the guests and the speakers, the keynote speakers generally are not from our industry. And so they're bringing in other perspectives, and it's really interesting. So that's why I like Print Hustlers. And it's the one that I definitely go to. And then also the hangs are good. There's like a lot of people that I know. And so it's fun.
Yeah. In general, I agree. Like Nashville, Dylan, we didn't really talk there.
In the
I was afraid of you. You're so big. You're intimidating, man.
Just hug me next time. Just be like, just come up to me and whisper like, what underwear do you have on today?
Yeah. I'm going to do that, by the way.
I'm a big teddy bear. Okay.
I'll see.
Just do it from behind so I don't actually see your face.
Yeah. No, but I love that style, right? Like the Nashville thing was cool. I wish the industry did something more on like the business of printing, like the actual, like a basic, super introductory, high level, like finance and accounting, or like the chemistry, like why do heat applied products work, and why is there like, what is the adhesive used that works on a hat versus a water bottle versus a, like, I'd love.
I've talked to some people about this at different events like this, and it always boils down to, it sounds good in theory, but who's going to come? And I don't blame them for this, because it is a business to a degree. You know what I mean? Like, some of us really want that super nerdy, into detail, like you said, the heat applied products thing. But it's like, they're looking at it as, well, do I pack a room at ISS with 120 people? Or do I have 8 people who really want to know the chemistry of like what's happening when you apply heat to this product? So I agree with you, though. I think it should happen regardless of how many people are there, because I feel like it would grow once people got the gist of it and heard, oh my God, I really know how this works now.
Mm-hmm.
And like more like team input to the vendors on ideas for automation, right? Like, I always thought it would be fun to have
kind of like the Print United thing,
kind of like that, but like I was talking to Alex about this at Blue Water. Why does every single reclaim machine, in fact, Andy, I talked to you, I think in Vegas, about the M&R dishwashing thing for squeegees and flood bars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool concept, great for automation, but why is there not some rig that's shaped like a screen where I can plop my squeegee and flood bar in and run it through my auto reclaim? Like, why does every auto reclaim manufacturer not have that?
Number one, Denial, Chris at Denial built one of those. Yeah. So he runs through his Blue Water. He built a frame that he sticks his squeegee and flow bars on. For the Eco Text, it would never work. Or it'd be very difficult to make work because of the space of I guess the way that feeds into the machine. The space is too small. Like pneumatically, this door opens and then the chase goes in, and then pneumatically door closes. You know, the squeegee and flood bar wouldn't fit in there accurately or properly, I should say. Squeegee maybe, flood bar never.
What if your chase was a screen?
It still wouldn't, because squeegee would maybe fit in there, but a flood bar wouldn't, because we use winged ones and they're just too big, and it just wouldn't work.
But also technically, you're not supposed to use 701 on squeegee rubber.
Beautiful point right there too. Yeah, technically you're not. Although if you have a prepper rinse quickly, if you're only in there for 2 minutes, and then it's rinsed, then I think it would work. But also I think somebody would probably argue that maybe that would be okay in some shops, but others, you know, you're taking up capacity of your auto reclaim with squeegees and flood bars.
Separate department, basically. Separate
department. And so I said this to M&R, because I'm like, you know, it's $30,000. Who the fuck? Like, why can't it be like, you're going to sell 1 trillion of these if they were like 10 grand or 20, 30 is too much. And, you know, you would say the response is sort of like, well, they have to support it. First of all, you know, there's a lot that goes behind that. And then second, the same exact thing was said about the Eco Rinse, like 30,000. Like, that's crazy. Like, why would you spend $30,000 to just develop your screen? You could get a garden hose. It's Home Depot.
It's an automated garden hose.
Yeah, that's what people would say. But the thing is like, it is an absolute crucial part of our shop. We were spending 4, 5, 6 hours a day developing screens. And now the same person just puts the screen in there and walks away with the recipe, and then it comes out absolutely perfect. There's never a fail on press. There's never, you know, when you're with a garden hose and you've done your 100th screen and you miss that little spot, and then it sets up on an auto and the team's ready to go, but oh, that didn't wash out. That sucks. That's expensive. And you would pay $30,000 to have some automation, you know? And so the same thing with the squeegee, the quick clean. And I think that having a separate piece of equipment for that and a separate chemical that is the appropriate chemical or proper chemical for the squeegee is probably the right answer, if that makes sense.
Would you rather have your developer for $30K or the quick clean for $30K?
Developer, because that was our first. So we do have the quick clean just came yesterday. But I would say that, you know, prior to that, we had a dishwasher thing that was cleaning our squeegees and flow bars, but it wasn't very good. So it wasn't as efficient, wasn't as fast. And I mean, I think you get to a point where you're cleaning enough squeegees and flub bars, you need some sort of automation. I mean, it just makes sense. It's like there's a person that's standing there doing it forever, for hours. And so you want to just be able to slide it. What's so great about the quick clean is you can just slide it in the machine. It's made for an M&R squeegee. They can make them for other ones too, but it just slides right in and it cleans it really well. And so I think that's worth it. And so you can put you talk about being a data or a numbers driven guy, you can look at it and you can amortize it and say, hey, does this make sense, over time to purchase this? And then the answer is yes. It's just like an auto reclaim. I mean, it's amazing what an auto reclaim does to your shop and your quality of life. And when you get it and it's working, you're like, why didn't I do this like 10 years ago? Like I should have just had this machine, and yeah, it wouldn't have fit and all that kind of stuff, but it's just make it fit because it's awesome. It's an awesome machine.
The other thing too is it's all this level of automation with tools for screen printing is meant for you at a certain point in your career or the growth of your shop.
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant for a manual shop to go buy a $30,000 squeegee cleaner. It's meant for the person to be like, dude, this fucking person is standing here cleaning squeegees and blow bars all day long, and it's insane.
Yeah,
Let's
it's a pain
buy a machine
point,
to put it in.
They get dumped off on a stainless table, 8-color job, 9-color job, 5-color job, on and all day. All of a sudden there's like 60 of them. And then you have guys like, hey, I need a clean squeegee. And so they're stopping a press. Oh, let's clean this thing off, and you're like, you're screwed. And so, I mean, how expensive is it not to have one? Really? So yeah, anyway, I don't know. That's my,
We
how
got
do we
one
get in
more?
this? Yeah, we got one more. Number 9. Complimenting someone.
Underrated. Severely underrated.
Severely underrated, yes.
Would anyone say overrated to that though? And like anyone? Oh, that's for real assholes.
Yeah, definitely. Real assholes.
I don't do it enough. I know I need, it's like something like I need to do it more. I know that everyone does, I guess, but yeah. Do you guys have like certain people in your shop that when you do compliment them, you can just see it, like they appreciate it so much versus other guys are like, okay, thanks. And then you naturally want to compliment those people even more.
I do it a lot, and I don't know if I don't know. Like, I just feel like I could walk out in the shop, like I go from here to shipping, receiving, and walk past 4 people, and I could just have my head down, or I could just walk and not say a word. But if I walk by someone and look at them and be like, fuck yeah, and then like give them a high five at the same time, like they instantly like laugh or smile or like are on board with it. And it just is like, I don't know. It's just nice. And
I find myself thinking the thought sometimes. Like I'll walk by Jerry and he'll have a cool pair of Jordans on, and I'll say, and to myself, I think, oh, I like his shoes, or I like those Jordans. But if I would just say it, like to him, it's nicer. Like it's a nice thing. Like it's good to hear. Like when somebody says, hey, I like your shoes or whatever it is, you know what I mean? It's good to hear.
I like to be real toxic and say something bad about them and then compliment them right after.
It's like a Sour Patch Kid.
Yeah. Like, wow, that print looks terrible. You should do better next time. But I really like your hair.
Okay.
You think Sour Patch? How about I got one for you? Sour Patch Kids, overrated or underrated?
They are massively underrated. They're delicious. However, they are poison.
I like the blue ones.
I mean, it's sugar, pure sugar, and it's going to kill you. But they're delicious.
You know what's the worst of those is sour Skittles, because I love them and they're delicious, but they destroy my mouth. Like I used to buy them when I went to the movies, and they give you that like medium to bigger size bag because they make you feel like you're spending $8 on a bag of candy. It should be at least not a small bag.
You don't go to CVS before and
tongue is annihilated for like a week.
My go-to for the movies are hot tamales. Used to be hot tamales or Twizzlers. Giant. I was
expecting you to say snow caps.
Red Vines over Twizzlers, Andy. Got to go with the Red Vines.
I always go with Bunch of Crunch. Bunch of Crunch is my go-to movie snack.
I don't go to that many movies. I feel like since I had kids, my kids are young. I don't know exactly how old.
At least once or twice a week.
Yeah, I go like twice a year, 3 times a year, like to the movies, and it's awesome just to like be in silence usually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. Well, do you have any questions for us? Any last comments? Anything you want to talk about real quick? Shirt show,
No.
underrated, overrated,
I'm trying to think if there's a, yeah, like, so do you guys do heat applied products in your shops?
Mm-hmm. Both of us have been a bigger advocate of it this year.
And do you, Dylan, you said you have a Stampinator. Andy, do you have a Stampinator?
I do not have a Stampinator. We currently use Action roller squeegees, Action rollers. But I'm, seriously considering one. We have 2 Cobras that it would work on because, like Dylan said, our sportsmen, it wouldn't work. And so I'm interested in one. I think there's certain applications it's a no-brainer. Like, it would be awesome to have. But the first part of your question is we built out an entire department based around DTF or screen print transfers. And so I bought 2 MEM shuttle, presses, and we have the same thing for that's how we put neck labels on shirts. And so this entire area over there gave away my vinyl cutter and all of my vinyl. I had probably $5,000 worth of vinyl rolls, 2 giant racks they're all tubes, like thousands of yards, glitter this, neon that, whatever bullshit. It's all gone, and I'll never touch it again. And I had to get rid of it because we'd end up just selling, like somebody come to the front counter and like da-da-da, and we're like, fuck. And so we'd have to cut this vinyl, and it was just, so now we can just order it in if we want. I just don't want to have to mess with that and take up space. And so we are going heavy into DTF when it's the right option and not heavy enough. Like you pointed out earlier, you held up a couple of things like, we could do, besides just DTF, we could also do these silicone transfers or even patches and things like this. I think it's smart.
See, we're the same way as like we've been ordering all these things, and normally we would have cut some vinyl or whatever, but I don't want to get rid of my vinyl cutter because just yesterday we had someone that's a friend of ours come in and say, can you make me 2 shirts today? And we just wanted to cut them vinyl because they were both separate, and it was perfect for that job. It sucked. I mean, it was 2 bodysuits. One said, "Hey, Matt Rife" on the other one, which is a comedian, and the other one said, "Want to have a threesome?" And the only way for me to do those would have been right then and there in vinyl. So,
I mean, you could have burned a screen, but it costs more. It takes longer. Yeah. But I don't want to be able to do that.
We just converted our Brother, GTX for that purpose. But yeah, that's like a $25,000 paperweight basically, that versus a couple $1,000 vinyl cutter.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got another question I got to ask you, because I ask everybody this because it drives me insane. Would you guys pay, I don't know, 20, 30, 50 bucks a month, $10 a month if any of our vendors had some sort of technology? They all have computers on these machines we buy, right? Whether it's our screen print presses or even the auto reclaims, right? They all have computers. Would you subscribe to a service for $20 a month if they could just tell you via the cloud how fast your presses are moving, what, like all the simple data that they could probably program?
Mm-hmm.
And then collect between the thousands of us out there that are willing to pay $20 a month? Like, I think it's insane that no one's done that.
Yeah. They're all starting to do that or trying to do that. The new M&Rs all have that, where you can do setup time and downtime and all this stuff to get all the variables and whatever else. But yeah, I think if it was something that you could plug into any piece of equipment, or even if it was a touchscreen thing where you could just put in, it took me this long to set up, it took me this long to print the job, whatever, it would be really cool if it could all come back to a cloud thing in your office. I don't know.
I think
have data.
I think you're talking more Wi-Fi, and you could access it remotely. You're not counting on a press operator touching a screen and entering things like that. You want to know basically just in an
Well, you would
8-hour
have to for certain
production,
equipment.
like in a per hour in a shift, how many times did the press index, let's say, or something, what speeds or something like that. So
Exactly.
just without somebody, because we have all that data that somebody's plugging in, but then you're relying on a human. And I think there's a way to skip that. Yeah, there's probably, but I don't know that you would get all the data you wanted, but you could just get some basic stuff.
And then make it cloud. But, or even like, again, when you go back to when Alex was out here, I was talking about how cool it would be if we could scan. I'm big into QR codes. I think with Nikki, you asked QR codes over under and like so underrated. We have in our break room, we have a QR code for every single item. So if we run out of something, people can just scan it and it like sends an email to buy more. And so we're doing the same thing with our chemistry too and our inks. So if we're low on, white, just scan it and it goes to our production manager who can verify we need it. And then he clicks a button. But like, imagine if you could have some service where, whether it's an M&R, whatever the product is, you scan your chemistry and you're putting 5 gallons of this chemistry in, and these machines all know approximately how many screens they're cleaning per hour. Like, that would be cool if it could break down what my actual cost per screen is via the computer, just by scanning something once a week or every month. We need more of that, man.
I agree.
So I'm relying on Shirt Show to make that happen.
All right, we're on it.
I know there's a listener. I know there's multiple listeners we've talked to before that are very techie nerds that are probably going to be able to work this up and send us a DM after this episode comes out and say, "Oh, I could do that."
Steven Campus Inc. sent me a video once of he did that. So he's got something. So call him or text him and say, "What do you have?"
I would pay. Man? I would pay for that. I think a lot of people would pay for that.
I think I agree with you. What was your saying for? Did you say got it on it? What did you say earlier?
I got it. I'm on it. I got it. I'm on it.
Yeah. So I got it. I'm on it. That's what my saying is for this. Okay. Got it. I'm on it. Or Steven's on it. That's what I meant to say. Brian, cheers. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on, dude.
Nice talking to you guys. Thanks for having me.
When will we see you next? What are you going to?
Well, are you going to Magic? Are you going to the Magic Sourcing Show in like a week in Vegas? You guys hate Vegas, right? Yeah.
Not as much anymore. It's okay.
Yeah. Tyler opened my eyes, but we have Shirt Show Camp next week. So.
Oh, that's right. So I'll be at Magic. I'll for sure be in PPAI, and then, what's it called now? Not ISS, whatever it's called now. Long Beach.
Oh yeah.
Don't you come to San Diego in like December, January, Andy?
Yeah, we were in, where were we? La Jolla. Well, we were all over San Diego.
His month-long vacation, usually after Christmas.
We're going to try and do 2 months. Yeah. So we'll be down there. We can hang out.
Yeah. Come hang. We're like
eat some cauliflower.
Eat some cauliflower.
Sure. Show me the right stuff.
Pizza. Show you the California burrito world here. Print Hustlers comp. I don't know. I saw that it came out. The dates. I have some conflicting things going on that weekend.
Cancel those things. Come on up to Newport because it's at a theater. Talk about movie theaters. It's at a movie theater, and it'll be fun. We'll learn some stuff. We'll have some.
We'll hang out.
Beers, maybe. No, iced tea.
Yes.
All right, man.
Have a good one, dude.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Later.